Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. At CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds. Join us as we dive into SailPoint, an identity governance technology, and discover how it helps businesses manage security and compliance.
Just a quick question, Rekha. So I was working on this query. So whatever identity we have created in the backend database, if we run, let me clarify, let me correct that. So we shouldn't say the identity we have created, just we have aggregated an identity got created automatically. So all this data showing up, these are the ones. Yes, exactly. Close identity as a table name. So whatever identity got created via the process of HR application aggregation, it will automatically update under ISPT_identity table. So yesterday we have all these. So let me complete that. We have to cover other tabs as well. Let me take control. So yesterday we have onboarded this HR application and the connector type is delimited since the source data is available in the CSV format, spreadsheet, Excel sheet. So that's why we have chosen delimited file and the first two tabs we have covered. So the merging is nothing. Do you want to demonstrate merging also? Once in a while we will use this option. We should know at least merging. So what exactly you want? This should be columns. It should be in our file. Just give me a minute. Let me check whether I have a data or not, or else we have to prepare. It's going to take a couple of minutes. Let me see if I... Watch yourself go. We'll do one thing better. We'll create a... Let's take an example. James Smith is handling a lot of projects from different locations. So they have updated something like this. The same employee, but it's updated in 7 locations. What did you say? 7 rows. But the value is different. Location Austin, India, Australia, UK, US or something. When SailPoint is going to read this file? When SailPoint is going to iterate this line? So either it will iterate this line or the last line. So in that scenario, what will happen? SailPoint won't iterate other values. So in that scenario, you have to merge all the values into single cell based on any one of the unique value. You got the requirement. Let me demonstrate. C drive. C drive on CSV. Save this file. So the file has been saved inside the documents folder. Can you move it to C drive? For demonstrate purpose, I'll change the file name as well. It's book1. book1.csv. The comma will be the one. Perimeter. We have to update it. This is the schema attribute. Everything is fine. If I'm going to click on this preview button, I know to open file stream. Hit the preview button again. Here you could see SailPoint is able to read the first line or last line. And when you look into the location only, it's fetching Russia. You got it. I'm going to open the spreadsheet. What about the other value from Austin to MP? SailPoint should have aggregated these values too. So in that scenario, merging will be very helpful. So now I'll go to merging option. So data needs to be merged. So which column should be merged? So you should mention location. So what will be the unique column? Unique column name you have to mention. It will be employee ID. We cannot rely on first name always. Either in this scenario, either employee ID or email. For the same. And now we'll go to schema again. We'll hit the preview button. So now here you could see. So Austin, India, Australia, all the values will be fetched in a single cell. You got it? What is merging? So this happens only in a case where an identity is having different work location or not only different location. It could be any scenario. It could be any attribute value. When employee has multiple attribute value, in that scenario, we have to merge the column. It could be cost center. It could be some other value. We are not sure. It depends on the project. So we should consider as an attribute. So in that case, if a manager is having 10 associates under him, so all those 10 associates would be listing under him in this merging column. If we can take that example. Because you get depends on the attribute like employee ID, first name, last name, manager ID, and then depends on the application as well. So what kind of attributes they are using? So as you are saying the manager and subordinate, it won't be suitable in this scenario. Let's just say my employee have different values for different attributes. In that scenario, if they want us to merge, we can. We are not going to decide anything on our own. So each and everything we have to check with application team, as I said already. So if they want us to enable merging, definitely we have to do. Sometimes we will onboard application and application team or anyone will raise the question saying the employee values are not fetching. So in that scenario, we have to compare the feed file or the CSV format spreadsheet. We have to compare with our own data. So we have to find, this is why SailPoint is not able to fetch in that scenario. We have to instruct them. Application team. We have to get their approval and after that we can make the changes in SailPoint. Like we can enable the merging. If the application team is already know this attribute has multi-value, we can enable this merging in that scenario because each and every attribute, whenever we are going to click on the discover schema attribute based on the application team instruction, we will enable. Whether it's a correlation key or whether this attribute has a multi-value, whether this attribute is going to act as an entitlement. Each and everything we will feed based on their confirmation. You got it, guys? Are we clear? So merging is nothing but if an employee having more than one record, the same employee having more than one record. In the feed file, we can try to see a common value which can be merged. Is it not exactly? So here we have an example for James Smith. Correct? So James Smith is working for multiple locations. So that's why the application team mentioned different value. It could be department, it could be region, it could be any other attribute value. So James Smith, not only for one identity, they are going to update for all the identities. The value will remain same. The attribute will remain same. If application team wants us to, application team will raise their concern. James Smith only ratio values showing. What about other values? It's not appearing. So you have to take care in that scenario. We have to look into which attribute has multi-value and what unique attribute what we have in say. Based on that, we can merge. You got it? So, his location is so. If you look at this, it's perceived only the location is different. Everything else is same. Because we have instead SailPoint to merge only location attribute. So in like a region, can you go back to that spreadsheet? So before that, just have a look here. Which column needs to be merged? Only location. So instead of location, if I'm going to mention any other column, like let's take an example, call center. So the employee has different call center value. So in that scenario, if I'm going to click on the preview button again, I set call center value, but you didn't add the cost center, like location doing it more, even though just a minute it be a call center here. Why it's not appearing? Instead of cost center, let me mention department. So now the department value, should we have to save this? First of all, I didn't save this document. Now click on the preview button again. So here you put the department is switching only one value, the value. Now I'm going to instead SailPoint to merge these columns to these attributes. So based on one unique value, employee ID will remain unique value. So based on this employee ID, we have to merge this department column. So here you could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the values. Basically, SailPoint will iterate only one line. I mean, James Smith is already present in SailPoint and we are trying to add the same value again. Since it is already present, it is looking for the value multi-value. Or else employee or someone will raise their concern, saying SailPoint is fetching only one value, one row. What about other row values? You got my question. Guys, let's talk about other tabs. I'm going to cancel this. I want to save. So I have the schema provisioning policies. We will cover later. I have covered everything in setting merging. It's very important. And the same way, if you want to filter any column, you may call it as attribute in SailPoint from SailPoint standpoint. If you want to skip anything, if you want to filter anything, you can use this option. If you want to iterate, the partitioning mode auto manually defined, but I'm not sure. We haven't used this in real-time project, so you can skip this. So let's start. We have to cover these remaining 6 steps. We'll talk about that. So each and every connector will have different type of configuration. So the configuration tab will change, but when it comes to remaining tab correlation accounts, it will remain same. Let's start from password policy. So whenever we are going to aggregate user accounts, so user account or major account, maybe identity will be created, as you know guys. Now if the same employee is going to access SailPoint application or maybe the respective application, so they need a credential correct, username and password. Let's take an example. 1 year is the username and password. He can reset on his own, or maybe he would have received a notification email with a credential. When he's trying to access, sometimes you might have seen change password option will be there whenever he's going to log in. At first time password has to be changed. When he's trying to change the password, complexity will be there. I mean, these many characters has to be there. These many minimum character, maximum character, some numeric character has to be there. Special character has to be there whenever we are going to define the password. So that's all about password policy. If you want to define password policy by any respective application, we can do it using this tab. So for this application, we are going to define the password policy. In that scenario, click on Create New Policy. Again, based on the application team requirement and stakeholder requirement, we are going to fulfill this. So what will be the policy name? Again, this is an identity object you may consider as identity object. So description, you can provide minimum number of character, maximum number of character, minimum number of letter, everything you have to mention. If you want, I can demonstrate too, but I'll do it from my system because I have active identity application. I'll do it. So rulers, this is very important guys. So out of the box manner, we can onboard any application, but when unless if there is no customization required. No need to build any rule, but based on the stakeholder requirement. If you want to customize anything, if you want to additionally add anything, we have to rely on rules. So here we have different type of rules like aggregation rule. Whenever we are going to aggregate any data and if you want any customization, so we have to rely on this. So when provisioning is going to happen, if you want to do any modification, if you want to customize anything, we have to rely on this provisioning rule and connector rules. The same applies to schema rules as well. Let's take an example. Your stakeholders are saying, whenever we are going to aggregate the data from HR application, try to pay attention for HR application only, not other application. So we have to create email ID as well because HR people, they are not going to create any email ID. So we have to create email address and we have to set some default password so that they can log in into SailPoint. So this is stakeholder requirement. So in that scenario, we can write some rule in the creation rule. With the help of developers, we can write some rule like whenever identity is going to create, we have to set some password. And in the couple of sessions back, I have shown with the help of Java doc, we have a lot of. So we can write some rule using methods like identity is the object set, password is the method. So whenever identity is going to create, we have to set the password. Similar way, we can create email address as well. So in that scenario, this creation rule will be very helpful. Apart from this creation rule, we will use this customization rule very often. If you are looking for any customization rule, I mean any customization like it could be anything. So we have to rely on this customization rule. And when it comes to provisioning, if you want to do any data manipulation, you have to rely on this build map rule. Whatever comes under connector rules, we can rely on this. If it is related to provisioning, we have to rely on this rule. So every time the developer will write something, and we have to select from here from the drop down. Anyone has any question? Like modern development is all the rules for the workflows or anything. For the customer, this is not workflow. It's all rule. Customization rule. What kind of customization rule usually come? I don't know. I know it will be based on the company. It is not on the stakeholder requirement. We have to write something. We have to build something. I did. So usually, what kind of common customization rule you will be the developer? There is no such normal customization. It depends on the application. Let's take an example. We have a mainframe application. So mainframe application rack of ID will be there. So some rack of ID we have to segregate based on the unique value or something. We have to segregate based on the unique value because each and every employee will have different unique value or whatever it may be. I don't have a clear idea because currently the requirement what we got, it's mainframe application. So in that scenario, we have to get the requirement. We have to fulfill with the help of customization rule. We have to write some if condition. If employee has this unique value, they belong to this department. Something like, hypothetically, I'm saying so you have to build something like that using if condition. If employee belongs to this department, then their call center should be something like this. So we have to use list, hashmap, array list, something like that. You got it, NN? I got it. I was looking for some example which you did in your experience. That's fine. No, we cannot say that because each and every application will have different customization. So Active Directory is the most common application. So I can tell something from that. So Active Directory we won't disable on day one, you guys know. That's a common requirement. So that common requirement will be fulfilled under this customization. For other application, whenever employee is going to leave on day one, their access will be either disabled or it will be removed, which means deleted. But for Active Directory, there are some exceptions. On day 1, we will disable the code. On day 5 or day 10, we will remove all the groups, which means we will remove all the access permission. On day 30th or day 60th, we will delete an code. I hope you guys are familiar with this parameter. Yes or no, guys? So those customization will be fulfilling the customization. Under these rules, is there a drop-down menu to select to something or? If you have written any rule, definitely it would have pop up under, it will be appear under the drop-down from this drop-down. Oh, so when you write the custom machine rule, then that drop-down will be appear. That values. Oh, that's why this is empty now. As of now, we don't have any rule. Once again, it's not workflow. There is a difference between rule and workflow. We'll talk about that later. So activity data source, you can skip this too because I never seen in real-time corporate project. They have used this activity data source. Activity data source. You can skip that, but I'll tell you on a high level. So based on if you're going to implement this activity data source, we can track all the employee activity. Like what they are going to access this application, what time they are going to log out, what kind of changes they have performed. Employee. So based on the logs, we can track everything. So we have different type of logs based on this source data. So we can track all the employee activity basically, but we never used in real-time environment. So you can skip this. So risk, we have a separate chapter called Risk Management, Identity, Risk, Application Risk. We'll talk about that later. So whenever we are going to aggregate any user data, so those accounts will appear under Accounts tab. So you can no need to access always from this identity warehouse. You can access the data from here as well. So whatever accounts associated with this application, it will appear under this Account tab. Correlation. This is very important, guys. Pay attention. Now I have a question. So yesterday we have onboarded this application called Authoritative Employees. So 1 year is one user employee. He has access to HR application. His first name is James. Last name is Smith, James Smith. Imagine a scenario. James Smith already has access to track application. So now we got a requirement. SailPoint engineer got a requirement to onboard track application. Track is application name. James Smith upon ID is already exist on the track. So if we are going to onboard that application and if you are going to aggregate the data, what will happen again is another identity is going to create. So here we have SailPoint. Yesterday we have onboarded HR application. So today we are planning to onboard track application. So James Smith is the user. He's an old employee. He already is part of HR application. Correct. And James Smith is already part of track application too. So yesterday we have onboarded this. So James' identity got created in SailPoint. Correct. So if we are going to onboard the track application, what will happen? So tomorrow we are going to onboard AD application too. Definitely. We should not create a duplicate entry. How we are going to handle this situation? Because the old one doesn't know who is James Smith. What is that? And also one doesn't know. It has a mechanism where it will calculate and it will do its activity. Can you do merge or what? No, merging is not. We cannot do merging. You can do it inside this application, but when it comes to different application, you cannot do the merging. Do we have to correlate all the threes? We can correlate, but my simple questions. So in that scenario, how many identities going to create? We didn't declare any correlation. We didn't use any merging option. Nothing. You have onboarded 3 applications and you are going to aggregate all the data. How many identities going to create in this scenario? I think 1. Definitely 1. I feel from HR application already 1 identity got created. Correct. So today I'm going to onboard this track application. So again, James Smith identity is going to create or not? By aggregation. I don't think so. Because identity is unique. We are defeating the purpose. If we are creating all the known. The purpose we are creating, I agree, but I think it will be created. It will be created unless you have a unique value that is related to James Smith email. If it's an email address is the same, it will not overwrite. You know it will. Unless if we are going to define any unique value inside the application and SailPoint, the code, new identity will get created. So whenever you are going to aggregate track, definitely a new identity will create, but another application, again new identity will create. So we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't allow to do that. So in that scenario, what can we do? We can introduce the correlation based on the unique value. So let me demonstrate that. And guys, always remember we should find the unique value. Each and every application may have different values. So in the HR application, they have one username. Track application. They might have tracked one. Get some other values to make sure you have to match the value. Always remember you got it. You have to match with SailPoint. Let me show you. So this application has value called 1 year and SailPoint. Also we have one value. Easily we can correlate when it comes to track. So track application doesn't have 1 year. They may have email. This email is going to match with SailPoint. Then we can correlate based on this email unique value. So this AD application doesn't have this 1 year value either or email. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.